So my first raft trip was down the Colorado River. I was 19 years old. I hiked in at Phantom Ranch, so I was going with Mike and Gus. Do you remember Gus and Sandra? Their whole group of people. There's like 4 or 5 rafts, probably 4. And Mike invited me to go with him. And he had a couple going with him for the first 7 days of the trip, first week of the trip. It's like an 18-day trip.
Yeah.
And so I hiked in at Phantom Ranch, and right in the middle of the Grand Canyon, right in the middle of all the big rapids. And it was a boat smaller than this one. It was a 7-man rescue raft for the military. It was a small black raft. All the food and gear was up here in the front compartment. I sat behind him, and he was rowing like you're doing. Sat there for 12 days watching and learning. That kind of by just observing what he was doing, and I learned a lot that way.
Yeah, I bet.
He let me have the oars. We got below the big rapids, part of the canyon where we started approaching Lake Mead. He let me row and just learning where the currents and stuff were at. And then I got to go down when I was working in Fredonia on the Forest Service. A lot of the big rafting companies on the Colorado come in our office, wanted to know if we could get some help because one of their helpers didn't show up for that week. And it was a seven day raft trip all the way through the Grand Canyon. They motorized everything. They never stopped for side cane hikes or anything. And I was the cook's helper. As soon as we hit the beach, you set up tables, start feeding people.
Oh man!
You pack it all back up, go all afternoon, and then hit the beach again and start feeding people. And but the boatmen actually, and these are these big 33-foot long pontoon boats with the big tubes on the side.
Yep.
They'd lay those things down at night on the lower down the last night on the river, on basically on Lake Mead. They lowered those down. We put cots across. Everybody slept on the raft.
Oh wow!
And we tied all 3 boats together like just a big bow. And so when they just drift along the night, you feel them hit the shore and they start spinning. We watch the stars and they start spinning the other direction.
Jeez.
And
those are your first 2 trips?
Yeah.
Were long trips in the Grand Canyon?
Yeah. In the last day or two, the last day on the commercial thing, the boatman actually let me take over.
Really?
Running the motor. And he was pretty impressed because you got this huge wide open river and the currents are swinging from shore to shore around these big back eddies.
Yeah. And
you just kind of, like I say, watch the airboats. And so I was following along and going through, and later on they gave me a nice compliment for doing what I was doing.
Oh man.
And then
and what year was that?
That had to be about 1977 or 78, somewhere in there. June, hot. Oh gosh, those trips are hot. It'd be 116 degrees in the shade.
Oh my God! Why are you rafting then? That's when the water is?
Huh?
Why would you go that time of year?
That's just when they got their permits. That's when they'd all go.
Oh my God!
Otherwise, as soon as it warm up, hit June, the canyon gets hot. The rafters are out. And we stayed on the river. It was pretty nice, actually. So when you hit shore, it just got so hot.
Yeah.
And one day, it was running 100 to 112 most of the time, but then there was one day I noticed it hit 116 in the shade on the river, on the shore.
Golly.
That was hot. Then it wasn't until about the mid-80s when I bought this. A friend of mine had a raft with another friend of his. It had a frame. No, he had the raft. How was that? I forget. Anyway, he bought the boat with some other people, and then they moved, and so they weren't rafting. And I asked him, well, if I buy a frame, can we just put it on your boat and raft together? We did that.
Yeah.
We went to Colorado, did Arkansas, we did the Chama River. And then the guy I bought the frame with, he moved and took this raft, and I was sitting there with the frame. I needed to buy a raft. So that's when I bought this raft. I've been using it ever since. And
So
it was when I was living in Taos.
Okay.
And we'd run this, practice on this. But that summer I worked for BLM, I really got some good practice. I learned a lot.